Hey everyone, Chris Adderson here. If you saw the headlines this month, you know that CNN reported on a study that proves horses can smell our fear. And I've been waiting for this kind of a study for 40 years. Published January 8th on PLOS ONE. That's a major peer-reviewed scientific journal. Researchers in France demonstrated that horses can discriminate between human body odors produced and when we're feeling fear versus joy. Science is catching up, and I've been teaching this all along. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Chris Adderson. I created movement language, the natural language that horses speak through movement, energy, and embodied intention. I bring 40 years of classical dressage with professional dance training, a Bachelor of Kinesiology, hi Mangu, and the Patterns of Reciprocity framework. And I wrote the book Going Beyond Mastering Unspoken Connections, which explores exactly this, how horses read consciousness through embodied form. So what this study actually proves isn't just that horses smell fear, it's that horses read our consciousness through our embodied states, including chemistry of our emotions. So you cannot fake embodied intention with a horse. They know. And today I'm going to break this down for you, what this study actually means and why most people are missing the key insight, even when they understand it, and what movement language offers that goes beyond just staying calm. So let's dive in. Okay. So here's what the researchers did. They took cotton pads and collected body odor from human volunteers. And they put those pads in the armpits of the volunteers. And they did this while the volunteers were watching scary movies or happy movies. And then they presented the odor samples to 43 horses and measured what happened. And the results were remarkable. When the horses smelled the fear odor from humans, they became more fearful themselves. They were less likely to approach humans, and they startled more easily. Their heart rate increased, their cortisol levels increased, and this wasn't just behavioral, it was physiological. The horses' bodies were literally responding to the chemistry of human emotions. Now, the study focused on fear versus joy, but here's what really important to understand. This isn't just about fear. Anxiety, your frustration, your confidence, your calm, your excitement. Your horse perceives all of these states through chemosignals. That's chemical communication that happens before you even move. And this is what I mean by embodied intention. It's when your internal state is expressed through your entire being, not just what you're thinking, not just how you're moving, but thought, feeling, and body integrated as one. And that's what horses read. They read your embodied state. Pretty amazing, right? That the science has finally caught up with what we know is happening. Here's what gets really interesting. This study is being reported everywhere as horses can smell fear. But what it actually shows is something so much deeper. Horses perceive our internal state through multiple channels all at the same time. So let me show you what I mean. Your horse is reading you through visual cues, like your facial expression, your body, what it's doing, the way you hold yourself, auditory cues, your voice tone, kinesthetic cues, the quality of your movement, and that one's really important. And how you move through space. And now we have proof of biochemical cues. So the actual chemistry of your emotional state. And all of this is happening simultaneously. And here's the interesting part too, is that your horse knows if there's incongruence between these channels. So you can try to look calm, you can try to sound calm, and you can try to move calmly, for example. But the chemistry of what you're doing shows anxiety. Your horse just knows, because they're reading all of these channels at once. And when one doesn't match the others, they trust the one that you can't fake, which is chemosignal. This is why I've been saying for years, you cannot fake embodied intention. Your horse reads consciousness through form, including actual chemistry of your consciousness. So that's pretty cool. Here's what I see happening, and maybe this is you. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You hear about this study and you think, right, I need to calm down before I work with my horse. I need to ground myself, maybe process my emotions, get into a better state. And yes, these are all super important. They're very important. But here's the gap I see all the time, and it's so common as I work with horses and their riders. Your horse can perceive your internal state, but that's not the same as receiving an invitation to engage with you. I see this constantly with my students, really conscious, dedicated horse people. They're doing all the work, right? They may be meditating, grounding, processing their emotions. They arrive calm-centered, emotionally present to themselves, and their horse just stands there, disengaged, bored, distant, and they come to me, Chris, what am I doing wrong? My horse can sense that I'm calm, so why can't I get anything done with my horse? And I get it, because you're doing everything right, but there's a clear distinction. Being grounded in yourself is not the same as being grounded with your horse. Horses don't need to perceive you calm. They need to be invited into genuine co-creation with you. This is the difference between internal awareness, which is so important, but it's incomplete, and embodied invitation, which is what horses actually need from us. So horses aren't bored at all, and they may not be lazy. They're just waiting, right? They're waiting for us to engage with them, and it never comes, perhaps. So this is where movement language comes in, and this is what I'm really excited to share with you. What this study confirms is that horses are reading our embodied states across all these channels simultaneously, right? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, biochemical. And movement language doesn't teach you to fake the calm or perform the presence. It teaches you to create a genuine congruence, where your internal state, your embodied expression, and your invitation to your horse all align. The patterns of reciprocity work together as an integrated system to take a thought to an action. They help you translate your internal state into communication horses naturally understand. And that's not easy for people. It's not separate techniques that you apply one at a time, but as a whole way of being that creates congruence across all those channels horses are reading. And when you embody the clear intention and create invitation through your whole being, horses can read and respond to that. So you're not doing it to them, you're doing it with them. You're creating the congruence across the channels. They're perceiving it. Your visual cues, your kinesthetic cues, your biochemical cues of your internal state. Everything aligns. And your horse can trust what you're offering because there's no incongruence between what they are reading. I was just working with a mare recently, and this mare had everything. Beautiful turnout, enrichment toys. An owner had done years of personal work on themselves, but the mare just stood there disengaged. But within minutes of working with movement language and the patterns of reciprocity, creating the genuine congruence and invitation, her eyes brightened and she came alive and she started to move together with her owner. Not because we entertained her or applied some technique, because we engaged her consciousness, we created the kind of congruent communication. This study proves horses are perceiving. So she could read what we're offering across these channels, visually, auditory, kinesthetic, biochemical, and it all matched. So she chose to engage. This is what the study is really telling us. Horses don't perceive individual signals. They're reading the whole of our embodied state. And when that whole state is congruent, genuine connection becomes possible. Okay, so let's bring this all together for you. This study proves that horses perceive our internal emotional state through chemosignals, the actual chemistry of our emotions, which validates what movement language has been teaching. You cannot fake embodied intention. Your horse just knows. So the key that most people miss is that horses don't just need to perceive your state. They need to be invited into genuine co-creation with you. Internal awareness, yes, it's important, but it's not enough on its own. You have to learn to translate that internal state into embodied invitation. Communication that engages the horse's consciousness, not just compliance. I've written a comprehensive article about all of this, what horses actually need. Not enrichment, not entertainment, but genuine engagement through consciousness. And you can find it on my website. I'll put a link for you in the comments below. And this article includes the full study citation on all the science breakdown and the 3 elements horses need for genuine engagement. And if you want to go even deeper into this work, I also wrote a book called Going Beyond Mastering Unspoken Connections. It explores how to develop the embodied awareness and the attunement that we need that creates the genuine connection we're looking for with horses. And also, if you're thinking, okay, Chris, I get it, but how do I actually do this? How do I create embodied invitation? That's exactly what I teach in my movement language mini course. It's the foundational framework for movement language. So it's the first 3 patterns of reciprocity. And you'll learn how to translate your internal awareness into communication your horse can actually read and respond to. So if you'd like that, look for the link below in the comments as well. You know, this study is really significant to me, not just because it proves that horses smell our emotions, because it validates that horses read our consciousness through embodied state. And that changes everything about how we get to approach working with horses. You can't fake it, but you can absolutely learn to create genuine congruency. And that's what movement language is all about. That's what I've been teaching for 40 years. And I'm just so grateful that finally science is catching up. Thanks so much for watching. It's a glorious day here. Horses are eating their lunch. Go read the article, and most importantly, go out there and create genuine engagement with your horse. Okay, see you in the next video.